Well, dude, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to get a chance to know you better and to get to know your band better. And before we get any further, this has been plaguing me since your single first came across my desk. What is the correct pronunciation of your band name? Because I know I've been botching it at least 50% of the time.
It is actually pronounced just DAV.
Okay, so it is initials, because with your first name being Dave, there was some question there, and I was always like, it feels like since they're capitalized that it would be initials, but at the same time, I talked to some other people, and they were like, oh, well, we're playing with Dave, and I'm like, okay, so you're playing with are you calling him Dave, or is the band name Dave? And so I've always been confused, so I feel better now, because I feel like I've been saying DAV more so than just Dave, so that makes me happy.
Good. Yeah, well, kind of how the name came to be, because most people, they're familiar with me playing guitar with the band in the verse. Long story short with that is just, majority of the group didn't like playing shows, and that's part of like the calling that God gave me. So, I was like, man, got to become like a solo artist or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to be called Dave Hanson, because that's like kind of dumb. I was thinking, Lord, what should I do? He's like, well, you could just use your first name, chop off the E, and then it'll just be DAV, And then some people were like, yeah, you should put the dot in between the D and the A and the V, and stuff like that. So eventually I might maybe do that, but probably not. But I think over time, once people get familiar with the band and more often and stuff like that, I think it'll just catch on that it's actually just DAV and not Dave or DAV or stuff like that.
I feel you. Now, do the letters, is it like an acronym for something, or is it just the initials?
Yes. The D stands for delivered, the A stands for adored, and the V stands for victorious.
Okay. All right. So delivered, adored, victorious. Cool. I feel like I may have seen that at some point, like on one of your Facebook posts or something, but at the same time, I was always like, but still, I mean, you could say different things with that, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it works, man. Cool. Well, now, of course, I know a lot of people who listen to this show will know you for your single called All It Takes, and of course, that also features John the Revelator on some vocals on that as well. Let's just start things off with talking about that song, kind of where it came from and what it means to you, and then maybe just kind of what other people seem to be latching onto the song as well.
Yeah, All It Takes, when I was in the studio and just getting the music recorded, and usually, with lyrics and all that stuff usually comes really quick and stuff like that. But for this particular song, I kind of had writer's block, which hardly never really happens, but I couldn't really think of anything to save my life with the lyrics. And one day I was just talking to one of my friends, and, they were going through, and still are, but, they're going through a hard time in their life and stuff like that. And the Lord was convicted my heart to write a song based on their story. And then once that came to my mind through the Holy Spirit with that, the words just came really fast. And then with that too, then I wanted to reach out to my buddy John, because still with the song, even though that the words were coming, there was just few spots within the song that I was like, man, I can't think of any cool melodies with what's coming on. This is kind of weird that I can't create a simple melody for it. And I was like, well, I'll just reach out to my buddy John, see if he would want to collab on it. And he was like floored, like, really? You want to feature me on the song? I was like, yeah, man. And then I sent him the track. He put his vocals on it, and I was like, bro, this is awesome. So then what we did, he cut the vocals for the verses for the song at his home studio, while I did the vocals at Cherry Pit Studios in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. And John's from Texas, and but overall, that's how the song became to be.
Nice. Obviously, this has kind of been the song that has taken off for you. And is it technically your first song that you have put out there, or is it one of a few? I'm embarrassingly not enough up on kind of your history to know where it falls in your chronology.
Yeah. So with the DAV, it's the first single that did release, and I was thinking, do I hold off until the whole EP is done, or do I release the song early? What's actually cool is that when I branched off from In the Verse, because In the Verse we had a couple number one singles on some stations and stuff like that as well, and so I had a lot more songs and stuff like that. But the cool thing with the DAV stuff is that when I branched off and started off as a solo artist, I'm really good friends with my buddy Nick Rad, and he works with Skillet and all that stuff. And I was like, hey, do you think Laurie Peters studio drums at all or anything like that? And he's like, well, I haven't talked to her in about 6 years. And he's like, I can reach out to her and stuff. And she's the former drummer of Skillet, which is my favorite drummer. And Nick replies back, she's thinking about it, she's not too sure yet. And then a few days pass. Yeah, she'll do it, And
Nice.
I was like, all right, how much? And he's like, 200 a song. And even though 200 sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Right.
So
For a professional musician who's been in a band as big as Skillet, that seems like that would be kind of low.
Yeah. So I was like, yes, let's sign me up right now. So then she actually tracked drums for 4 current songs. That's for the Warzone EP that's coming out next year. And the last 2 songs are getting mixed. But there is going to be a special treat for the EP, so there could be an extra song or something like that on it. But that was one of the cool things. So the drums that people are hearing on that song is Laurie. And the cool thing with that too is that she was like, this is her first studio recording ever since Comatose.
Wow.
So for myself, I'm just like, wow, this small kid from Crivitz, Wisconsin that has a couple hundred people in it. And I have Laurie Drummond on, the riffs that I'm creating and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that's off my bucket list.
No kidding, dude. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. And it's funny because I've had a few moments like that in the radio biz to where you just kind of ask a question that you fully expect to get the answer that you don't want, but you feel like you kind of have to ask, and you have that weird moment of like, if I get a no, then I'm in the same place I am now. And then it works, and you're just going, oh, well, cool. Well, I'm glad I manned up on that one.
Yeah.
Very cool, dude. Very cool. I like that. Sweet deal. Now, another song that we're going to be playing from you is one that you've released more recently, which is called Scratching the Surface. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, Scratching the Surface. Awesome song, and a lot more screaming on that one. But with that song, when I was writing that one, because with DAV being so brand new, and I'm like, well, this EP is going to take a little while to come out. And I'm like, for a band, you got to have music, and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, I can record a couple more songs, release a few more singles and stuff like that before the EP comes out. And so I was talking to my buddy Ryan, who I track with. I was like, hey, I gotta do another song before the EP drops and stuff. So we booked some studio time and recorded that one, and stuff came really quick with that one. And what was, I'll say, one of the cool things with the song is with the screaming on it. But when I was singing my vocals on it, and I was just like, Ryan, I feel like I gotta sing here, I got to create some melody. And he's like, no, Dave, you are screaming right here, and you're just going to scream. I'm like, all right, I'll scream. And then the cool thing, too, with this song, I'll just touch base on. So DAV is no longer a solo project. It's actually a full band now. And a couple of months ago, found the right people to actually form the band, and I actually have a screamer now, and his name is Jacob Towns. So now for live shows, I really don't have to worry about screaming, so I can actually save my voice. So in the song too, similar topic, about people that are, depressed and suicidal, or they're questioning their identity, and it's just a song to say, God is there, He's inside the storm, He's carrying you through it, and that's the message with the song. Very
cool, man. I like that. Fantastic. Now, do you find that, you kind of mentioned that both of these songs have kind of a similar topic. Do you find that that kind of general vicinity is kind of where you draw a lot of your inspiration from for your writing?
Yeah, there's a handful of stuff, yeah. So a lot of it, is from experiences with my life or with friends and family. But then also, too, I'm also a big fan of like old school Disciple, where you would have that hard rock, and it's really worshipful, upfront lyrics. So there's going to be a handful of songs like that, too, coming as well in the future. So that's what I'm very passionate about as well. Because I think with Christian music, it's not to say all bands are not doing it, but I just feel kind of like Christian rock is kind of lost a little bit. I just think with Christian rock, it has to get back to being a lot more passionate.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of hard rock songs that are going to have like some praise lyrics to it and stuff like that. So
I'm a big Disciple fan of all eras as well. Is there a specific record for you that really stands out from them? Not to branch away too far from DAV, but yeah. I just have to ask because I'm curious because I'm a fellow fan.
Yeah, so I would say my favorite album is By God.
Okay.
And what's kind of weird is that usually the first album that I hear from a band is usually my favorite.
Right.
So when I was at a Christian bookstore, I just saw the By God album. I'm like, wonder if this is any good. Buy it, and then I throw it in my car, and I'm like, wow, this is really good.
Very cool, man. I'm somewhat similar. I think the first one that I picked up from them was This Might Sting a Little. And it was the same kind of thing. I was in a Christian bookstore. I think I might have seen like one of their ads, like in HM Magazine or something, but I didn't know much about them other than they were obviously rock or metal or somewhere in that vicinity because of tangential thing with HM. And I picked it up and I was like, whoa, like this is different and I like it. You know, I can get down with this, because before that, I think a lot of the stuff that I was into before that was kind of along the lines of like Guardian and Bride and stuff like that. That was, you know, it was kind of that hard rock, you know, venturing on hair metal kind of stuff. And so it was weird because they were kind of bridging the gap between that and it was almost rapcore, but it wasn't. And, you know, it's a fun era for sure.
Yeah.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Cool. Now, just out of curiosity, all lyrical content aside, as far as whether or not it's as good as it used to be, have you heard some of the new Disciple tracks that have just been kind of leaked ahead of the release of the new record?
I heard all the songs that are currently been released to the market. Right. I haven't heard any special behind the scenes.
Yeah, those are the ones I'm talking about. I made it sound sexier than it needs to be. But
yes, I wish I could hear some of those. But from what I heard, because one of my friends, her name's Katie, and she posted a photo, and she's like, "Well, I got my CD early in the mail, and
oh man,
I'm playing it." And she's like, "I'm playing it on my portable CD player, you know, so I'm not doing Spotify." So I'm like, "Yes, that's how it's done." But now for me, I'm like, I'm jealous of you because you're actually listening to the whole album.
Yeah, right. I'm right there with you, and I've only heard the ones that have been released publicly thus far as well. And it's funny because each and every one of them sounds so different from the other. I'm like, I'm really wondering what direction this album is taking, because there's that one that's got Josiah starting off, and I was like, what is this? Like, this is different.
Well, to be honest, when they released that first single, my first reaction was, I don't know if I like this.
Me too.
You know, but then I played it again, and I'm like, this song's actually really good.
Right? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think it was just a shocker that it's like, man, we didn't hear Kevin right away. You know, I'm just like, did they like morph Kevin's voice? Did they like change it? I'm like, what's going on?
And plus, it's not like they said anything like this is this song with a guest vocalist, because you're like, it either has to be Kevin doing something way different, or it has to be one of the other dudes in the band. And it threw me too. And I love Josiah; he's a fantastic dude. Yeah. But when I first heard that, I'm like, this isn't Disciple.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what is this?
So yeah, man, I'm right there with you. And then the next one came out, I'm like, okay, it's like this one has Andrew Schwab on it. I can always get down with anything with Andrew Schwab on it, and plus the song is really killer. And then the next one came out, I'm like, I don't know if I like this one either. I was like, it's good, but I'm not sure how much I like it, and so it'll probably take a few listens. But you know, that's okay though, because some of my favorite records I did not like upon first listen, and then I was like, well, I paid money for it, I need to listen to it again. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get it now. And then, you know, listen by listen, it gets better, which is always nice.
Oh yeah.
Well, cool deal. Now, recently you guys played a show out with Nessen. How did that show go?
Yeah, no, it went well. It was a pretty good turnout. You know, we always wish that there's more, but it's not about the number. You know. But we had also John the Revelator as well.
Fantastic.
And the cool thing that I would say from the experience of playing, everyone that was there, one of the main comments that they said is that with everyone speaking from their heart, they said it was a nice wake-up call and a nice reality check that, you know, that we're keeping stuff focused and centered on Christ. So that was the nice take away from that show.
Yeah, for sure. And it is kind of hard because, I mean, some of those shows you can walk away leaving like, what did I just see? I mean, it's not like there was anything to point to say that was bad, but at the same time, sometimes you feel like was there anything like really inherently good there either? And that can be a weird situation. But I'm glad that people walked away feeling like they kind of knew what you guys were about and didn't feel like there was any doubt about that. That's always good. You had mentioned earlier about the Warzone EP, and that was going to be coming out next year. What other info can you give us about that?
So with that one, I started recording that EP last fall. In what I can give like detail wise is that the 4 songs that are for the EP, All It Takes is one of them, and then of course Warzone, and so the next track would be New Name, and then the 4th song is called Crazy.
Okay, fantastic.
And what was going to be the EP for the title of it, it started off to be Crazy for the title.
Right.
And then, let's say probably about 3 to 4 months ago now, it was just weird. The Lord hit me with a conviction. I had to change the title of the EP.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I already have the cover artwork done, already paid money to get it done.
Right.
But the Lord's like, you have to change this. And then as I was thinking about it, and praying about it, I was just like, I can't question God. I was like, all right, I'll change the title of the EP to Warzone. My favorite song for the EP is actually Warzone as well, which is kind of ironic as well. Crazy is a good song,
Right.
Punchy. But there was something about Warzone that drew my heart. And that song is also a personal song as well, because one of my friends, they have an alcohol addiction. They pray to God every night, to take this addiction away, and why won't God do it? With my friend, I just tell him that I love him. There's nothing that you can do that's going to change my mind about you. I said it just comes to the point to where, we have to make the change, because Christ is not going to force himself on us to make that change. That's what that song is about. Anytime too that I really think about that song, it just really tugs at my heart, because there's a lot of conviction in that song, and I truly believe that song is going to change his life.
Well, what is that like? I mean, as an artist, to write something that has, at the very least, potential to have a very real effect on somebody that you know and you care about.
Yeah. So when that conviction came with that song, and then to change the title of the EP, but I've been sharing that song with him throughout the stages of the tracking and the mixing, but his first response was, "You're joking, right?"
Wow.
I'm like, "No." I'm like, "The Lord told me that I have to write this song, and it's for you." And he's like, "Dude, that is crazy. Why would you even write a song for me?" And stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, because God loves you, man, and I believe in you. I know you feel like you got no one that you could trust or turn to. God has sent me in your direction to be a light, and I believe in the power of God, that he can change anyone's life. And music, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful tools out there, because my testimony is around music, and I wanted to see Disturbed live. And of course I asked my parents, and they told me no. I was only allowed Christian concerts. And
Right.
for myself, I'm like, well, Christian music sucks. It's just polka that I don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
But long story short, I saw Skillet. This is when they're in their Invincible era. So John had his long blonde bleached hair and all that stuff. Got the clothing. For myself, I'm just like, this is Christian. This is weird,
Yeah.
And I played the first song, Best Kept Secret, and I'm like, oh, God, I guess you are cool. With God changing my life through music, it's that same thing with this song with Warzone. I just believe that this song through God has that powerful impact, that it can actually impact my friend, so that through that song, through God, that he knows that he's loved, that he's not condemned, and that he can change the way that he is, because he's accepted for who he is.
I don't often hear that much about people, I guess, writing songs for specific people to hear as much, or at least not that I hear about. It's always usually it's kind of like an amalgam of different people we met on tour, or it's about a past relationship with somebody who I don't know very well anymore. Not that either way of doing it is bad or wrong or anything, but it's nice to be able to hear just kind of a different perspective on that. I think that's very, very intriguing at the very least. Well, dude, what is life like as an indie artist? I mean, I think a lot of people are trying to figure this out and kind of what that looks like. And of course, I mean, you've had a song chart on a national chart, and that's always great. But of course, the Christian rock world can be somewhat small in some ways. But as you go through this process of making an EP and writing an EP and getting it produced and all that good stuff, what is life like for you as an independent artist getting all that done?
Yeah, I would say for anyone that being a indie artist is that it is hard, but I would say if it truly is a calling from God to do it, things are going to fall into place regardless of how long it's going to take. And so, like with radio, just one example, I'll just use the song All It Takes. And 9 times out of 10, people are like, wow, this is awesome. And it's coming all from radio people, they're like, wow, man, this song's really good. I like it. But then you have one station, that goes, oh, I really don't like this song.
Right.
The rap, I don't think he rapped well.
That sounds like somebody who doesn't like rap who would say something like, I don't think he raps well.
Yeah. And I'm like, he nailed the pocket, but, everyone has their own opinion. Now, I would say, from that experience there, I would say, a handful of indie artists, that are starting off, they'll be like, well, why are they saying no to my song? I spent all this money to get it professionally done. And what I always tell people is, let that go in one ear, out the other, because there's going to be a handful of stations that are going to play it and a handful that's not. And then with radio, I just push it out as hard as I can to as many stations as I can and just establish that relationship regardless if they play it or not. And just promoting it on social media and all that extra stuff. And it's cool, hearing it on any station, but like when you were saying like the national chart, and the first time that I realized that All It Takes was actually on a national chart is at Seventh Day Slumber. They always post their rock chart.
Right.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, DAV 20. All It Takes. I'm like, no way. I was like, John, look, we made it. No. And then I'm like, we can quit now. But no. But with being a indie artist, is that I love it just because you have that freedom. It's like you technically don't need a record label.
Right.
Just because of how the industry is. No, that's not to say like DAV would never sign with a label. There's only a few that I would sign with, but that's just because of, where I would really put 110% faith and trust in the label. There's only a few of them out there.
Right.
But being indie you have your freedom. You're not tied down. You don't have to listen to a secondhand man. So I know like Disciple, they had, a good story, and like they didn't bash their label that they used to be on, but, with the whole lyrical content, you get all this song and you're proud of it. And it's like, then the label goes, well, you got to tweak this and that,
Right.
So being indie, you don't have to have that secondhand man telling you what to do. And then like with shows too, promoting, you don't have that secondhand man that's trying to, what's the term that I'm trying to think of? I guess run the show.
Right.
On that aspect. Because there was a label that wanted to work with us, but, they wanted to have, and it's not a bad thing, but, they wanted to get 100% of the sales digitally. They wanted to run the shows when and how and where.
Yeah.
And, just for like myself, I'm just like, well, that's not what DAV is about, because I don't want to be told when and how I can't play and stuff like that. But indie, I would say it is a blessing just because of, when you press hard and you go through the rough spots, you're going to see the bright spots. And then in the long haul, it's just going to pay off.
There you go, man. I love it. I love it. Cool deal. Well, sweetness, man. Well, dude, is there anything else that's coming up like in the future that you want people to know about before we start to wind down?
Let's see. Well, there is going to be another single that's going to be dropping before the EP.
Okay.
And the song is going to be called Happiness.
Nice. Sounds uncharacteristic for you, but I like it.
Yes. And what it's about is not, being happy. It's actually a little different.
I could be wrong then. I think you may have misnamed it.
Yeah. So when we play shows and stuff, I love to let people know what the song is about and stuff like that. And when this song comes up, I'm just like, this song ain't happy, happy, happy. What it's actually about is, we're living in a world that just wants to live for themselves. They don't care what the Bible has to say. No one really wants to live in the sound doctrine. They want to live off of emotion and off of feeling. So what the song is about is actually saying that we're not going to listen to the lies of the devil that we see through his disguise, and that we're going to submit to the word of God versus to the word of man.
Okay, gotcha. Cool deal. Well, we'll look forward to that one, and can't wait to hear how not happy it is. I don't know, but it sounds good though. I like the way you're going with that though.
Yeah,
cool.
And the cool thing too with that one, there is going to be a guest appearance on there as well.
Ooh,
and it's actually going to be Andrew Stanton, so the former guitarist of Disciple.
Nice.
He's going to be throwing down a solo on that one.
Sweet.
Yes.
Cool, man. I'm all on board for that. That's always good. I like that. Cool. Well, the last question I always ask in any of my interviews, I always find is ironically enough, kind of maybe the most revealing in some cases. And that is, despite the fact that you're, the lead singer of this solo project turned band, and, you've had some years under your belt putting together some killer rock music, and you've got a song that's made it on the charts and all that good stuff. All that aside, what is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
The most... Sorry, I got a cough on that one. I had to think long and hard on that one. Let's see, the most unrocking thing. Well, we'll just be funny and then a serious one, but...
Okay.
So, most unrocking thing would be, I guess, with me and food.
Okay, all right.
Because it's like, I can eat some weird stuff. So, like, one of the things is I like cottage cheese and ketchup.
Oh, wow.
And I always tell people you can't knock it unless you try it.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just openly mocking it. That's all.
Yeah. But my wife is like, that's not cool, man. So that, to translate her words, that not rocking. I would say on a more serious note, I would say that I do like, some lighter songs and stuff like that. And I do write stuff like that. And one of my friends was just like, hey, Dave, when are you going to write a nice song? All of your songs are all aggressive.
That sounds like something my mom would say to me.
And I'm like, well, rock and roll is supposed to be aggressive. And I was like...
It's in the handbook.
All right. Yeah. So, but I was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a pretty song. So we actually have a song out that's called Fly Away. That is very contemporary sounding.
Okay.
And when I released it, some people were shocked. Like, okay, this is different. Dave, we actually hear your voice, just because it's lighter.
Right.
Okay, it's not all this hard rock stuff. But the cool thing with that one is that what we did was we actually have a limited edition CD out.
Okay.
And we put All It Takes on there, Fly Away and Scratching the Surface. And what was a funny thought that came to my mind like last week, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what if I didn't put All It Takes on there and it was just Scratching the Surface and Fly Away? I'm like, that would be the most ridiculous limited edition CD ever. It'd be like Scratching the Surface, hard rock and screaming, and then you go right, and then the next song is a light, pretty song. I'm like, people would go, man, this guy's like dyslexic, man. He don't know what type of sound he wants to do. That's clearly not rock and roll. So, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That makes my day. And I totally agree.
Awesome.
And it is funny because I feel like I have gotten some stuff sent to me like that. But not necessarily like this is our EP, but like bands will sometimes send me like, well, we have these kind of two directions that we go. What do you think? And one of them will be like, dun, 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 blah. And then the next one's like, oh God, you are my God. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes. See, and that's what my thought. I'm like, people would be like scratching their heads, like, this is really scratching the surface.
Which is true. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, though, because, I mean, there's a grand tradition in rock and roll music of the ballad. And, while most, Christian rock ballads are not necessarily about girls, which is kind of what tends to be the fodder for most mainstream rock bands, they're still ballads, and they're still good. And there's still definitely a place for that. But it is always amusing whenever people aren't expecting it and it just kind of comes out of left field. You're like, hey, wait, that was a left turn.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Awesome. Dude, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, dude. I appreciate you hanging out with us and kind of letting us get to know you a little bit better. And can't wait till the next song that comes out, and we'll look forward to it and look forward to the EP as well.
Awesome. And thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Fantastic, dude.